In one section of your grammar test, you're going to be asked to identify the sentence that is in passive voice. So let's look at active voice and passive voice because those are the two options. I will put a link to this page from grammarbook.com in the notes to the video for you so you can read this as many times as you like and review. So we need to know the difference between active voice and passive voice. There is some debate between instructors as to whether or not you need to use only active voice. Most English instructors prefer active voice. So if you don't know which one you should use active voice. And then you can always ask your instructor and do exactly as they say so that you don't lose points unnecessarily. So active voice means the subject is performing the verb or the action in the sentence. And that means that generally the subject comes before the verb when the sentence is in active voice. When the action comes before your actor, the noun that is doing the action, then that is written in passive voice. So here's the difference. My cat chases mice. Who does the chasing? Cat. That's active voice because cat comes before the verb chases. Here's one in passive voice. The town was flooded by the hurricane. What did the flooding? I know the town was flooded, but what did the flooding of the town? That would be the hurricane. So hurricane comes after the action, so it's in passive voice. One thing to look for when you are trying to see if something's in passive voice, look for the phrase by the whatever. And if this phrase is there, it's generally going to be in passive voice. Also, you could have this sentence without by the hurricane. You could just have the town was flooded. It's still in passive voice because the town didn't flood itself. Something else did the flooding. So that's in passive voice, whether you have the by the hurricane or not. Here's a little pop quiz for you. You can continue to practice the sentences to decide if they are in active voice or passive voice. For example, the thunder rattled. The thunder is what does the rattling. It rattled the windows. So that is an active voice. The taxi driver was ticketed by a police officer. So we have the by a whomever or whatever in this construction of the sentence. So we know that that little trick of remembering by the or by a tells us it's probably in passive voice because we have the verb done by something else. The verb comes before the person who did it or the thing that did the verb. So think about that. Also, again, we could have my taxi driver was ticketed without by a police officer. We will still know that the taxi driver did not ticket himself or herself. So that means that's going to be in passive voice, even without the by a whatever. So make sure that whatever is doing the action comes before the verb, not what is having the action done to it. Okay? If what's having the action done to or for it, or him or her, that would be passive voice. If, for example, driver comes before ticketed, driver is a noun, but driver is not ticketing himself or herself. Okay, so be careful of those little things. Here are the answers. You can pause and try these out for yourself if you want to pause here and then look at the answers. But you'll have the link to this page so you can go back and peruse that. Let's look at a sample that is very much like one that you will see on your grammar test. So you'll have 4 sentences or so, maybe 5, and you'll choose the one sentence that is in passive voice. All right, so pause this and take a look. So we're looking for the one that is in passive voice. That happens to be the first one. You have the by the students construction, that helps. MLA format was used correctly by the students who passed English 101. So the students who are using MLA format correctly, that comes after the verb used. So when the actor comes after the action, that's in passive voice. Also, you have the trick by the whatever after the action tells you it's in passive voice. The other 3 are in active voice. Again, if you have any trouble choosing between active voice and passive voice, I encourage you to read this article on active voice and passive voice. Get some extra practice even from the tutors in the tutoring lab, and you'll be in good shape.